Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, Story 47.
Imagine someone walks up to you today, just a complete stranger, and hands you $1 million in cash.
Oh, wow.
Right. No strings attached. They just say, they like your vibe and they want to help you out.
I feel like most people's first instinct is to just celebrate.
Exactly. You'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
But I want you to imagine why a truly wise person would look at that money, feel this cold pit form in their stomach, and immediately run for their life.
Well, it sounds like a paradox because, we are conditioned to view sudden, massive generosity as this stroke of incredible luck.
Yeah, like winning the lottery.
Right. But when you actually understand the hidden architecture of human relationships, you start to realize that, well, free money is never actually free.
And that paradox is exactly what we are exploring. We're looking at this incredible narrative from 17th century Chinese literature.
Yes, it's a very famous story.
Yeah, it's from the collection Liao Zai Zi, which translates roughly to Strange Stories from a Chinese Studio. It was compiled by a writer named Pu Songling. And let me tell you, this narrative completely obliterates our modern, comfortable idea of what a friendship actually is.
It really does.
Yeah.
Because it starts out looking like a quiet, almost poignant story about class and wealth.
Right.
But then it morphs into this gritty, suffocating legal thriller about systemic corruption.
And the escalation doesn't even stop there. By the end, it breaks the boundaries of reality entirely.
Oh, yeah. It becomes a full-on supernatural tale of vengeance.
Where the laws of biology are literally suspended because a moral debt has been left unpaid.
It's an incredible escalation.
It is a wild ride. But, to understand how we get to a literal leaping corpse exacting revenge.
That's just quite the image.
It really is. But we have to start with the two men at the center of this massive social collision. The first is a man named Wu Chengxiu. Yeah. So Wu lives in a place called Liaoyang. He is incredibly wealthy, very prominent, and, well, he is basically that guy we all know who just collects people.
The ultimate networker.
Exactly. His house is always packed with the local elite, scholars, politicians. He is a master at it.
But Wu has this creeping realization. Despite being surrounded by people constantly, day and night, he recognizes that his entire social circle is fundamentally hollow.
It's totally empty.
Yeah, it's a network built on mutual convenience, shared status, and just proximity. There is no actual substance there.
So he's popular, but he's utterly alone. And that realization culminates in this highly significant, inciting incident.
The dream.
Right, the dream.
Yeah.
Wu has this dream where a mysterious figure appears to him and delivers a devastating critique of his life.
Which has to be a wake-up call.
Totally. The figure essentially says to him, you have friends all over the world, but it's all fake.
Ouch!
I know. And then the figure says, out of everyone on Earth, there is only one man who can truly share in your adversity.
The one person who will stand by you when your life inevitably falls apart.
Right. And strangely, Wu doesn't even know him.
Now, in the context of classical Chinese literature, a dream like this isn't just a subconscious processing of anxiety.
Like he didn't just eat something weird before bed.
Exactly. Dreams in this genre are authoritative. They are glimpses into the actual fabric of destiny.
Oh, wow.
So when Wu hears this, he takes it as absolute literal truth. He actually asks the figure for a name.
And the dream figure replies, is it not Qilang?
Qilang.
Yeah. So Wu wakes up completely shaken. He immediately starts leveraging his vast network of, superficial friends to find out if anyone knows a Qilang.
And someone actually does?
Surprisingly, yes.
Yeah.
But this Qilang is not a scholar. He's not a merchant. He's a 20-something tiger hunter from the East Village.
And he lives in absolute crushing poverty.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because look at what Wu is doing here.
Right. If you zoom out and look at his whole mindset, his revelation that his life is hollow prompts him to search for authenticity.
And the universe points him toward a completely alien social stratum.
He is being asked to cross a massive, almost insurmountable class divide.
Which means Wu has to go to him. And I want you to think about this dynamic. If your life completely fell apart tomorrow, who would actually stand by you?
It's a tough question.
It is. So Wu wants to find this one prophesied guy, so he makes the journey to the East Village. And the physical contrast between these two men when they finally meet is just masterfully painted in the text.
The visual details do so much heavy lifting here to establish the power dynamic.
They really do. So Wu shows up at Qilang's home, and calling it a home as being incredibly generous.
The dilapidated hut.
Barely even that. The text describes it as having just a few rafters, with the walls literally supported by wooden forks shoved into the dirt just to keep the structure from collapsing.
It's borderline a ruin.
Yeah. And Wu, this wealthy socialite, goes up to the door and respectfully knocks. But he knocks using his horsewhip.
That is such a brilliant, loaded detail.
Isn't it?
Yeah, he is trying to be polite by knocking, but the tool he uses is a symbol of equestrian elite status.
Because horses were expensive.
Extremely. In 17th century China, owning and riding a horse like that is a massive marker of wealth. He is literally tapping on the door of poverty with the instrument of his privilege.
That's such a good way to put it.
It instantly establishes the asymmetry between them before a single word is spoken.
So then the door opens. Out steps Tian Qilang. And the text is very specific about his appearance.
Right, he's young.
He's in his 20s. He has a wasp-like waist, which implies he is incredibly lean, probably half-starved.
But hardened from hunting dangerous predators.
Exactly. He's wearing a greasy cap and patched black clothing that is just covered in stark white mending stitches.
So he looks like he has absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all. Yet despite that, he greets Wu formally, raising his hands to his forehead in a proper salute.
You have the silk-clad gentleman holding a horsewhip face-to-face with a lean, patched-up hunter. It's a collision of two completely different worlds.
Wu explains he's feeling a bit unwell from the road and asks to rest inside. Qilang invites him in.
And inside the hut, the poverty is even more severe.
It's stark. There is absolutely no furniture. No chairs, no tables, no beds. Just raw tiger and wolf skins hanging around.
Qilang doesn't even have a stool to offer this wealthy guest.
Right, so he simply takes a raw tiger skin and lays it on the dirt floor for Wu to sit on.
And, to Wu's credit, he isn't repulsed. He actually sits on the raw skin on the dirt floor.
He genuinely wants to make this connection.
He does. They begin to talk, and Wu finds Qilang's speech to be incredibly unpretentious, honest, and direct.
Which is exactly the antidote to the sycophantic, flattering conversations Wu is used to having with his elite friends.
Wu is overjoyed. He thinks, well, this is the guy. The dream was right.
Okay, but let me push back here, because this is where Wu does something that makes me intensely uncomfortable.
The money.
Yes. He loves the conversation, so he immediately tries to hand Qilang a massive sum of gold to, quote, make a living.
Yeah, he just offers it right away.
Isn't Wu just trying to buy a friend?
Yeah.
I mean, he just met the guy. It's like a venture capitalist showing up at a random mechanic's garage, having a 10-minute chat, and then just throwing a massive bag of seed money at them and saying, we're bonded for life now.
It feels deeply cynical.
Even if Wu doesn't realize it, yeah.
What's fascinating here is that your read on Wu's psychology is highly accurate. Wu operates in an ecosystem where wealth is the ultimate social lubricant.
It's all he knows.
Right. He genuinely desires a true connection, but he only knows how to build bridges using money. He assumes his gold can fast-track loyalty.
And completely bypass the hard, messy work of actually building mutual trust over time.
Exactly. But Qilang's reaction is what solidifies his character.
He turns the money down, flat out.
He does, and this is vital to understanding Qilang. Despite living in a shack propped up by sticks, despite his absolute poverty, Qilang possesses a strict, unbending personal code.
His dignity is completely intact.
Yes. He refuses the money repeatedly. Wu is projecting his rich man's worldview onto a man who operates on an entirely different moral axis.
Because to Qilang, accepting unearned money is an erosion of his independence.
Yeah, exactly.
But Wu is relentless. He refuses to take no for an answer, and he keeps forcing the issue. And by being so stubbornly generous, Wu accidentally summons a new character into the narrative.
Ah, yes. Qilang's elderly mother.
And she completely changes the gravity of the entire story.
She is undeniably the philosophical anchor of this text. She understands the hidden mechanics of human obligation better than anyone else.
So Qilang takes the gold inside to show his mother, just trying to figure out how to get this rich guy to leave him alone.
And she is not happy.
The mother, described as elderly and hobbling, comes out to face Wu. And she is not impressed at all. She is furious.
She explicitly rejects Wu's money.
She looks him in the eye and says point blank,
Huh.
I only have this one son, and I do not want him serving a noble guest.
She sees right through the gold. She sees the invisible, suffocating strings attached to it.
So Wu has to retreat in shame. But he's still obsessed.
He can't let it go.
No. He sends his servants to eavesdrop on the mother and son through the walls of the hut. And what the mother reveals to Qilang in private is chilling.
It's a huge turning point.
She tells her son exactly why she rejected the gold. She says she looked at Wu's face and saw what she calls bad luck lines.
Right. So physiognomy, the practice of assessing a person's character or destiny from their outer appearance, particularly their face, was a deeply ingrained cultural belief.
So it's not just like, oh, he looks tired.
No, she isn't just saying Wu looks stressed. She is identifying a literal physical manifestation of impending doom.
She tells Qilang that Wu is destined for a bizarre, catastrophic disaster. And then she delivers what I think is the most profound philosophical insight of this entire narrative.
The quote about reciprocity.
Yes, I have to read the exact quote because every word is loaded.
Yes.
She tells her son, "He who receives someone's appreciation shares their worries. He who receives someone's grace rushes to their aid in hardship."
A very clear statement of obligation.
Right. And she continues, "The rich repay others with wealth. The poor repay others with righteousness. To receive a heavy bribe for no reason is ominous. I fear he will demand your life in return."
What's fascinating here is how she completely deconstructs the economics of favor.
It's like she sees the matrix.
She really does. She is articulating the concept of babao, or reciprocity, which was the absolute bedrock of social relations in traditional China.
Wow.
Yes. Bao dictates that every favor, every gift creates a cosmic and social imbalance that must be rectified.
So it's not a gift. It's like taking on toxic equity in a doomed startup.
That's a great way to put it.
Wu is handing him capital, but in exchange, he's taking 100% of Qilang's voting rights over his own life.
The mother is saying that the rich can afford to play this game because they can just balance the ledger with more wealth.
But what does a poor man have?
Precisely. If a rich man gives a poor man a fortune, how can the poor man possibly repay that debt?
He doesn't have gold or estates to give back.
He doesn't. The mother explicitly states, "The poor repay others with righteousness." And in this specific cultural context, the word used for righteousness, yai, means a loyalty so absolute that it requires the sacrifice of one's own life.
Oh, wow.
The only currency Qilang has in his bank account to balance Wu's golden ledger is his own blood.
Think about this in your own life. Have you ever had someone pull a massive string for you?
It's a heavy feeling.
Maybe they saved your career or bailed you out of a terrible situation. You can't just buy them a coffee gift card to say thanks.
No, that wouldn't cut it.
The sheer imbalance of the favor actually creates a deep anxiety. You owe them. And, deep down, that if they ever come calling, you have to answer.
That is exactly the dread the mother is vocalizing, but amplified to life or death stakes.
Because she knows Wu is doomed.
She sees that Wu is a walking disaster waiting to happen. She knows that if her son takes Wu's money, her son will be morally and legally bound to go down with Wu's sinking ship when those bad luck lines finally trigger.
She is desperately trying to save her son's life by keeping him out of Wu's debt.
But the unbearable tragedy of the story is that despite the mother's incredible wisdom, the universe and Wu's relentless persistence conspire to force Qilang into that exact trap anyway.
It's so frustrating to watch happen. The accumulation of debt begins, and it doesn't happen through a single grand gesture.
No, it happens through a slow, tragic chain of circumstances.
Right. So Wu realizes he can't just hand them charity directly. The mother made that perfectly clear.
So he disguises his charity as commerce.
Exactly. He starts buying tiger skins from Qilang, presumably overpaying for them, just to quietly funnel money into their household.
Wu thinks he's being clever here. He thinks he has found a loophole in the mother's rule by framing it as a simple business transaction.
But then life happens. Qilang's wife falls severely ill.
Which is devastating.
It is. And Qilang, being a deeply devoted husband, stops hunting entirely. He spends every waking moment at her bedside, administering medicines, doing everything he can.
But tragically, 10 days later, she dies.
And this is the moment the financial trap snaps shut. Because Qilang hasn't been hunting, he has had zero income.
So all that money Wu secretly funneled to him through the pelts?
Gone. It is entirely consumed by his wife's exorbitant medical bills and her funeral expenses.
And to make matters worse, Wu personally attends the funeral.
Right, and he gives incredibly generous financial gifts to help with the mourning rites.
Now, Wu is genuinely trying to be a supportive friend during a tragedy.
He's not doing it maliciously.
No, not at all. But every single act of kindness, every coin, every condolence gift is tightening that invisible noose of bao around Qilang's neck.
So Qilang feels an agonizing amount of shame. He knows he owes Wu deeply, but he is completely bankrupt.
He has nothing left.
He actually checks his old stock of tiger skins to see if he can give them to Wu as repayment, but they are ruined.
Because they've just been sitting there.
Yeah, they are moth-eaten, the fur is falling out in clumps. They are entirely worthless.
His poverty literally prevents him from balancing the ledger. He is trapped in a state of unpayable debt.
But Wu does something here that shows he isn't a bad person. He's just horribly misguided.
He tries to help again.
Wu sees Qilang's shame over the ruined pelts, and he brilliantly tries to save Qilang's pride. Wu tells him, hey, don't worry about the fur. I didn't want those skins for the fur anyway. I actually just need the raw leather for a project. And he takes the ruined, moth-eaten pelts as if they are incredibly valuable, just to ease Qilang's embarrassment.
It is an act of profound empathy. Wu is emotionally intelligent enough to see his friend's pain and tries to alleviate it.
Which seems great.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, Wu's empathy is exactly what seals Qilang's fate.
Wait, I have to stop you there. Wu is being genuinely nice. He's trying to preserve the guy's dignity. Why is this a bad thing?
Because Wu doesn't understand the uncompromising nature of Qilang's moral compass.
Oh, I see.
Wu thinks he is waving away the debt, but Qilang knows those pelts were trash. Qilang knows Wu is lying to save his feelings.
Wait, Qilang isn't stupid.
Exactly. And for a man of Qilang's intense pride, receiving pity disguised as commerce is an even a heavier burden than receiving charity.
It makes it worse.
It does. The debt hasn't been erased. It has metamorphosed into an even deeper moral obligation.
Ah, okay. So Qilang can't just let it go, driven by this overwhelming, almost suffocating need to actually repay the debt with something real. Qilang packs up his rations, heads deep into the mountains, and spends days tracking and hunting until he kills a pristine, complete tiger.
He brings the entire magnificent beast intact to Wu.
It is the physical manifestation of his desperate attempt to buy back his independence.
He's trying to hand Wu a fortune in fur and meat to finally zero out the account.
But Wu doesn't see it as closing an account. Wu is just thrilled to finally have his friend back at his estate.
And what does Wu do?
He literally locks the heavy wooden gates of his compound to keep Qilang from leaving.
Just forces him to stay.
Yeah. He forces Qilang to stay as his guest for 3 full days. He takes this patched-up, exhausted hunter and treats him better than any of the wealthy, elite scholars who frequent his house.
He completely elevates Qilang socially, placing him at the center of his world.
And he goes even further. While Qilang is sleeping, Wu sneaks into his room, takes Qilang's worn, patched-up clothes, and secretly replaces them with brand-new, incredibly expensive garments.
He forces a massive upgrade on him while the man is unconscious.
It's so aggressive.
It's an aggressive, almost violent form of generosity. Wu is overriding Qilang's autonomy.
And later, Qilang's mother is so upset by this that she actually sends a servant to Wu's estate to return the new clothes and demand the old ones back.
She knows what this means.
But Wu just laughs it off and jokes, "Too late, tell the old woman I already tore up the old clothes to use as shoe linings."
It's meant to be a friendly, disarming joke, but the power dynamic underneath it is terrifying.
Because he took away his choice?
Right. Wu has destroyed the symbol of Qilang's poverty and independence. Qilang is now completely ensnared. He cannot outgive Wu's immense wealth. The debt is now permanent.
And that permanently unpaid debt sets the stage for the catastrophic disaster the mother predicted.
The bad luck lines.
The bad luck lines are about to show their true colors. We move from the psychological trap of social debt right into a literal legal trap.
The stakes escalate from awkward social dynamics to literal life and death.
So about 6 months pass. Qilang has been actively avoiding Wu, ashamed that he still can't balance the scales.
Keeping his distance.
Then, terrible news reaches Wu's estate. Qilang is in prison.
Oh, wow.
He got into a violent dispute with another hunter in the mountains over a leopard they had jointly killed. The fight escalated, a man died, and Qilang is now facing the death penalty.
In the justice system of 17th century China, a homicide charge like this, especially for a poor, unconnected hunter, was an absolute guarantee of execution.
They wouldn't even hesitate.
The bureaucratic machinery would crush him without a second thought.
So Wu immediately rushes down to the prison. And when he sees Qilang locked in chains, Qilang's reaction is heartbreaking.
He doesn't ask for help, does he?
No. He doesn't ask for legal help. He doesn't beg Wu to use his connections. He just looks at Wu, accepts his doom, and says, "Please, after I'm gone, take care of my old mother."
Qilang has accepted that his life is over. The state demands his life for the life he took, and he is ready to pay it.
But Wu absolutely refuses to accept it. Wu goes out and leverages everything he has.
Every connection, every coin.
He systematically bankrupts himself. He uses a massive portion of his fortune to bribe the local magistrate, the jailers, the clerks.
And crucially, he pays hundreds of pieces of gold to bribe the family of the victim to officially drop the charges and accept a financial settlement instead of blood.
It takes over a month of exhaustive legal maneuvering and massive payouts, but his immense wealth actually breaks the machinery of the law.
Qilang is released.
And this brings us back to the mother's philosophy. This is the absolute turning point for her.
Right, because the debt just became astronomical.
When Qilang finally walks home, a free man, his mother doesn't throw a party. She doesn't cry tears of joy. She looks at her son and delivers this chilling concession.
What does she say?
She says, "Your life, your very skin and hair, now belong entirely to young Master Wu. It is no longer mine to love and cherish."
She recognizes that the transaction is complete.
It's final.
Her son's life was legally forfeit. The executioner owned it. Wu stepped in and bought it back with his own wealth. Therefore, Wu is now the sole proprietor of Qilang's existence.
And when Qilang says he is going to Wu's house to express his gratitude, the mother gives him the most counterintuitive advice imaginable.
She tells him not to say thank you.
She tells him, "Go, but do not say thank you."
Small favors can be thanked. Great favors cannot be thanked.
I want everyone listening to just let that concept sink in. Great favors cannot be thanked.
Because words are entirely insufficient.
If someone pays for your lunch, you say thank you. If someone saves your literal life at the cost of their entire fortune, saying thanks is almost an insult.
It trivializes the magnitude of the sacrifice. The only valid thank you left is action.
The debt has transcended language.
Any verbal expression of gratitude would be a lie because it would imply that a simple conversation could somehow balance the scales.
So Qilang goes to Wu's house, and he doesn't utter a single word of thanks. He just nods.
He just accepts Wu's comfort.
And Wu, true to form, is totally oblivious to the heavy philosophical weight of this. He's just happy his buddy is safe and back in his life.
Wu never really gets it, does he?
Never. Qilang starts staying at Wu's house regularly. He accepts Wu's lavish gifts without arguing anymore. He seems, on the surface, to have finally relaxed and settled into the role of the grateful best friend.
But underneath that calm surface, he is simply biding his time. He is a coiled spring, waiting for the inevitable disaster that he knows he must repay Wu for.
And the narrative announces that impending disaster in a truly spectacular supernatural way.
This is a great scene.
This is one of my absolute favorite scenes in the entire story. It is Wu's birthday. His massive estate is packed to the brim with guests.
A huge party.
It's so crowded that by nightfall, there are literally no beds left in the guest quarters. Wu and Qilang have to sleep in this tiny, cramped little side room.
And because space is at an absolute premium, 3 of Wu's servants have to sleep on the floor directly under their bed.
The author creates this intensely claustrophobic, intimate tension. The physical proximity of all these bodies in the dark sets the stage perfectly.
It really does.
So it's the dead of night. The 3 servants under the bed are fast asleep. Wu and Qilang are lying in bed, whispering in the dark.
And Qilang has his prized sword hanging on the wall nearby.
Right. Suddenly, without a single person touching it, the sword violently jumps out of its scabbard by several inches.
A literal magical sword.
It makes a loud, terrifying ringing sound, and the exposed steel blade flashes in the dark room like a bolt of lightning.
This is a phenomenal use of supernatural elements, which are common in the Zigwai, or tales of the strange tradition.
It's not just a jump scare, though.
No, magic in these stories is rarely arbitrary. It almost always acts as a cosmic reaction to a disruption in the moral order.
Both men jolt upright in terror. Qilang immediately asks, who exactly is sleeping under the bed?
And Wu, confused, says, "Just my servants."
And Qilang delivers this incredibly ominous warning. He says, "This sword is a foreign heirloom. It has executed thousands of people over 3 generations, yet the blade has never even been stained by blood. It is as pristine as the day it was forged."
But it has a unique property.
He says, "It only leaps from its scabbard and rings when evil people are near."
The sword acts as a literal, infallible barometer for malice. It detects moral corruption the way a compass detects true north.
Qilang leans in and tells Wu, One of those men sleeping under the bed is deeply, irredeemably evil. You need to distance yourself from petty people immediately, or you are doomed.
And this is where Wu's tragic flaw, the exact flaw the dream warned him about in the very first scene, is fully exposed to the listener.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's analyze the suspects. Wu knows exactly who the 3 servants under the bed are. There's a 12-year-old boy.
Probably not the evil mastermind.
Probably not. Then there's a servant named Leaner, who is a massive flatterer, constantly kissing up, and is currently Wu's absolute favorite servant.
The sycophant.
Yep. And then there's a servant named Li Ying. Li Ying is incredibly stubborn, argumentative, and constantly fights with Wu over every little detail of how the estate is run.
Look at what Wu is doing here. If you examine his internal logic, his decision-making process is a masterclass in self-deception and aristocratic fragility.
Wu lies awake thinking about it, and the next morning, he fires Li Ying, the argumentative servant, and he keeps Lena, the sycophant.
Incredible.
I mean, I am practically screaming at the text at this point. Why is Wu so completely blind to the actual threat?
It's maddening.
He has a literal, magical, supernatural lie detector sword telling him there is evil under the bed, and he fires the guy who just occasionally disagrees with him.
Because Wu, despite his genuine generosity and good intentions, has an incredibly fragile ego.
He lives in a bubble.
He lives in the echo chamber of the elite. He likes to be agreed with. He likes comfort and deference. Li Ying challenged him, made him uncomfortable, forced him to justify his decisions, so Wu naturally labels Li Ying as the bad one.
And Leaner flatters him.
Leaner smooths over his ego, makes him feel smart and powerful, so Wu assumes Leaner must be the good one. The dream told Wu he was a terrible judge of character, and here, with his life literally on the line, he proves it spectacularly.
And that terrible judgment, the choice of comfort over truth, is the catalyst for the catastrophic disaster the mother predicted.
The bad luck lines finally trigger.
We now enter the phase of the story where the social structure completely breaks down and the escalation of systemic injustice begins.
Dark turn.
It centers entirely on Leaner, the favorite servant Wu decided to keep. One day, Wu was out of the house on business. His eldest son's wife, his daughter-in-law, a woman named Wang Shi, thinks the estate is relatively empty.
Right.
She goes out into the inner courtyard to look at the blooming chrysanthemums.
The author gives us this brief moment of quiet, aesthetic beauty, the blooming flowers in the inner sanctum of the house, right before shattering it with violence.
Suddenly, Leaner lunges at her from the shadows.
It's horrifying.
He attempts to sexually assault her right there in the garden. She fights back ferociously, screaming, terrified. Her husband hears the struggle, runs out, and Leaner manages to break free and escape the estate before he can be killed.
In the context of the era, this is a devastating violation.
The ultimate betrayal.
Yes. The inner courtyard is the protected heart of the family's honor. For a trusted servant to attack the daughter-in-law is an unfathomable betrayal.
Wu comes home, finds out what happened, and he is boiling with an absolute righteous rage. But Leaner is long gone.
He fled.
A few days later, Wu's informants discover where Leaner is hiding. And this is where the story brilliantly shifts from a tale of personal betrayal into a searing critique of a completely broken political system.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about untouchable power.
Exactly. Leaner hasn't just hidden in the woods. He has taken refuge as a servant with the family of a local, highly powerful man.
And we need to understand exactly who this man is. He isn't just rich.
Right.
He is the brother of a censor, a high-ranking imperial official stationed in the capital.
Let me push back for a second so we understand the stakes here.
Yeah.
What exactly is a censor? Why does that make this brother so untouchable?
The censorate in imperial China was basically the emperor's internal affairs division.
Oh, so they had real power.
Massive power. They were the eyes and ears of the throne, tasked with investigating corruption, auditing other officials, and reporting directly to the emperor.
Okay, so you don't mess with them.
Never. Because they had the power to ruin the career of almost any bureaucrat, local officials were utterly terrified of them.
And their families.
By extension, the family members of a censor, even if they held no official rank themselves, operated with near total impunity in their hometowns. They were shielded by an invisible umbrella of political terror.
So Leaner has essentially run under the ultimate political shield.
He knows what he's doing.
But Wu, thinking he's still a prominent, wealthy citizen with the absolute moral high ground, tries to use the normal avenues of the law.
He thinks the system still works for him.
He formally writes a letter to the censor's brother saying, hey, Your new servant violently attacked my family. Hand him over so he can face justice.
And the brother simply ignores the letter.
He doesn't even dignify it with a response. The arrogance of untouchable power.
It's astounding.
So Wu escalates. He trusts the system. He goes to the local magistrate, the head of the local government and justice system. He files a formal, heavily documented lawsuit.
And the magistrate actually looks at it.
The magistrate reviews the case, realizes Liner is clearly, undeniably guilty of an egregious crime, and issues a formal warrant for his arrest.
But as Wu is about to learn, issuing a piece of paper and actually enforcing the law against a protected class are two very different realities in a corrupt patronage system.
Exactly. The local police, the runners, they simply refuse to go to the censor's brother's estate to arrest Liner. They won't do it.
And the magistrate refuses to order them to do it.
Why? Because the magistrate's entire career, his very livelihood, could be obliterated by a single negative report from the censor in the capital.
He will absolutely not cross that family, even to uphold the law against a rapist.
The machinery of the law is completely paralyzed by proximity to political power.
It completely fails.
So Wu realizes he has to take matters into his own hands. He sets up a sting. His own private men manage to ambush and capture Liner one night when he sneaks out of the compound.
They grab him.
They drag him back before Wu, who beats him and prepares to physically hand him over to the court to force a trial.
But before Wu can get his justice, a letter arrives at the magistrate's office.
Sent directly from the censor in the capital.
The heavy hand of the state comes down, bypassing all local authority entirely.
Instantly, terrified of the letter, the magistrate orders Liner released.
No trial, no evidence reviewed, no justice.
Just released back onto the streets. And to add insult to catastrophic injury, Liner, knowing he is now completely untouchable, goes out into the public squares and publicly slanders Wu's daughter-in-law.
He just rubs it in.
Spreading horrific, graphic rumors to entirely ruin her reputation and the family's honor.
Wu is experiencing a profound, suffocating helplessness. Remember, his immense wealth solved all his problems before.
His gold literally bought Qilang out of a death sentence.
But now he realizes that wealth means absolutely nothing against entrenched, systemic, imperial corruption. He has hit the absolute ceiling of what money can buy.
He is furious, he's humiliated, but he is trapped. And then the violence escalates entirely out of his control.
It takes a really dark turn here.
One night, Liner is found dead in the wilderness. And he's not just dead, he has been brutally chopped into pieces.
A brutal, calculated execution and an incredibly dangerous escalation.
Immediately, the censor's family sues Wu, claiming he ordered the assassination of their servant. Wu is forcefully dragged into court.
Walking into a rigged game.
Because he knows he's walking into a rigged game, he brings his uncle, Uncle Heng, to act as a character witness and advocate.
Now, Uncle Heng is described as a venerable, peaceful, deeply respected elderly man.
He just goes along to try and calm the situation down, to speak reason to power.
Which is a fatal miscalculation when dealing with a corrupted court. Reason requires a neutral arbiter, and the magistrate is entirely compromised.
The scene in the courtroom is agonizing to read. The magistrate refuses to even listen to Wu's defense. He refuses to look at evidence.
He's already made up his mind.
He has already decided he needs to punish Wu severely to appease the censor's family. The magistrate orders Uncle Heng to be tortured right there on the floor.
Using the pain of the elderly uncle to force a false confession out of Wu.
We really need to explain the mechanics of what is happening here because the abuse of power is staggering.
It really is. Torturing a suspect was common, but torturing an innocent elderly relative to break the primary suspect is a gross violation of even their own harsh legal codes.
Wu is screaming at the magistrate. "You have no proof. If you want to punish someone, punish me. Leave my uncle alone. He has nothing to do with this."
But the magistrate just stares blankly and ignores him.
And here's the most sickening illustrated detail of the entire story. The men wielding the heavy bamboo torture rods aren't even actual court officers.
No, they're not.
They are the running dogs, the personal private thugs of the censor's family, acting inside the courtroom with the magistrate's tacit blessing.
This is the ultimate privatization of state violence. The official legal space has been entirely co-opted by the corrupt elite.
The thugs of the accuser are executing the punishment before a verdict is even reached.
Exactly.
They beat this innocent, frail, elderly man with bamboo rods right there on the stone floor of the courtroom.
Yeah.
And Uncle Heng cannot survive it.
He is literally beaten to death in front of Wu's eyes.
Inside a court of law,
Yeah.
and the magistrate's reaction to a man being murdered in his courtroom, He just waves his hand. He dismisses the court.
The system isn't just broken. It has become the active, lethal weapon of the oppressors.
I feel so much sheer, visceral frustration for Wu here. He goes from being this wealthy, powerful socialite who controls his universe to a screaming, helpless victim.
Physically kneeling on the floor, holding the battered corpse of his elderly uncle.
Completely abandoned by the justice system and society. He is utterly ruined. And the question screaming in his mind and in the listener's mind is, where the hell is Qilang?
Right. The man who owed him his life. The man who supposedly repays favors with absolute righteousness.
Exactly. Wu sent his men to look for Qilang when all this legal trouble started, hoping for backup. But Qilang's hut was locked tight.
The neighbors hadn't seen him in days.
Qilang had simply vanished into thin air. Wu feels a profound, crushing betrayal. He thinks, I sacrificed my entire fortune to save this guy from the executioner, and when I need him most, when my family's being slaughtered, he disappears like a coward.
But what Wu doesn't understand, what he hasn't realized yet, is that Qilang hasn't abandoned him.
Not at all.
Qilang has been operating on the mother's timeline. He is executing the philosophy of Bao.
This brings us to the climax. The ultimate repayment. Vengeance from beyond the grave.
And this sequence is an absolute masterclass in tension.
It is where the human failure forces a supernatural correction.
Let's set the scene.
Sometime after the murder of Uncle Hang, the censor's brother, the untouchable patron who started all this, is visiting the magistrate inside the heavily guarded inner sanctum of the local government office.
They are sitting together, likely drinking tea.
Congratulating each other on crushing Wu and securing their absolute dominance over the region.
They are the architects of Wu's destruction, feeling completely secure in the heart of state power.
It's a normal, busy morning at the government compound. A simple, grubby woodcutter approaches the officials to deliver their daily firewood.
A completely ordinary sight.
He's carrying a massive, heavy bundle of sticks on his back. He walks right up to the steps where the two men are sitting.
And then the tension breaks.
Suddenly, the woodcutter drops the firewood. He reaches deep inside his ragged clothes, pulls out a razor-sharp, gleaming blade, and lunges with terrifying speed directly at the censor's brother.
The suddenness of the violence piercing through the illusion of their safety is incredibly cinematic.
The brother panics, throws his arm up to block the strike. The woodcutter's blade chops his hand clean at the wrist.
Wow.
Then, without missing a beat, with a second fluid motion, the woodcutter decapitates the censor's brother right there in the courtyard. Blood goes everywhere.
A flawless, hyper-violent assassination of the untouchable man.
The magistrate is paralyzed with sheer terror, covered in the blood of his ally, and he turns and sprints for his life behind the pillars.
The entire compound erupts into chaos.
Heavily armed guards swarm the courtyard from all sides, weapons drawn. The woodcutter is completely surrounded. There is absolutely no avenue of escape.
And the woodcutter, who is, of course, Qilang in a brilliant disguise, looks at the ring of guards.
He realizes his path to the fleeing magistrate is blocked by a wall of spears and calmly takes his blade and slits his own throat.
He chooses his own end. He refuses to be taken alive by the corrupt system that he is currently dismantling.
He collapses, dead, in a massive pool of his own blood. The guards secure the area, poking the body to ensure he's gone.
The threat seems neutralized.
The magistrate, trembling, peeking out from his hiding spot behind a pillar, sees the assassin is dead. He sees the guards have control. He realizes he has survived.
He slowly walks out into the open courtyard to inspect the body of the madman who just slaughtered his most powerful political ally.
He wants to look his fear in the face.
He needs to assert his authority over the dead body to regain his sense of power.
He walks right up to the corpse. Qilang is lying dead on the stones, confirmed dead by a dozen guards.
But then...
It happens. It is the ultimate horror movie twist, but driven by pure, righteous, undeniable fury. As the magistrate stands over him, looking down, Qilang's bloody corpse suddenly, violently leaps up from the ground.
It is a reanimation fueled entirely by the unresolved physics of justice.
The dead man's arm swings the heavy blade one final time, decapitating the corrupt magistrate with a single, devastating strike.
A post-mortem execution.
And then, only after the magistrate's head hits the stone floor, the corpse of Qilang falls back down, dead for good.
This raises an important question about the story. Why did Qilang wait?
Right. I was wondering this the whole time. If he was going to kill them, why not do it earlier? Why didn't he just kill Liner when Liner first attacked the daughter-in-law?
Or save the uncle?
Why didn't he act when the lawsuit started and save Uncle Hang from being tortured to death?
Because, as his mother taught him, Small favors can be thanked. Great favors cannot be thanked. Think about the terrifying mathematics of his debt.
He owed his life.
Qilang owed Wu for his very life. He couldn't just go beat up a servant. He couldn't just intimidate a local clerk. To repay a life, he had to give his life.
But more than that, to make his death equal to the immense fortune Wu spent to save him, Qilang had to solve Wu's absolute worst, most insurmountable problem.
He had to wait until the problem became big enough to warrant his ultimate sacrifice.
Exactly. He vanished not out of cowardice, but to plan.
He needed to calculate a flawless strike against the two most powerful, heavily guarded men in the entire region. He waited for the exact moment when both architects of Wu's misery were sitting in the same room.
He knew he wouldn't survive it.
The leaping corpse is the thematic pinnacle of the story. It symbolizes that Qilang's loyalty, his internal adherence to Bao, and his drive for justice were so absolute, so uncompromising, that biological death literally could not stop him from balancing the ledger. He had to finish the job.
It is absolutely stunning. It leaves you breathless. But as we move into the aftermath, the final verdict of the story, we realize that while Qilang balanced his personal ledger, the real world is still a chaotic, broken mess.
The tragedy doesn't magically undo itself just because the villains are dead. The systemic corruption remains.
Right. Wu is immediately accused of orchestrating this double assassination. He is dragged right back into the legal system.
And how does he survive this time?
He bankrupts himself entirely. Again, he spends every single remaining penny of his vast, incredible wealth on bribes to various higher-ups in the capital just to avoid being executed for treason.
It is a profound symmetry. He loses exactly the same amount of wealth to survive Qilang's salvation as he originally used to save Qilang in the first place.
Meanwhile, Qilang's corpse is treated like a traitor's.
Yeah.
It's denied burial and thrown out into the wilderness to rot.
But the universe intervenes.
Miraculously, birds and wild dogs gather around the body and fiercely guard it from scavengers for over a month, until Wu is finally legally free and can go out to give him a lavish, honorable funeral.
The author is telling us that even nature, the very animals of the wild, recognize the profound cosmic righteousness of Qilang's act, even if human society condemns him.
As for the mother, she knew exactly what her son was going to do the moment the trouble started. Days before the assassination, she packed up Qilang's young son and vanished into exile to protect the bloodline.
A very smart move.
The story gives us this brief, poignant epilogue. Decades later, that young son returns to the region as a highly successful military general, having changed his name to Tong to survive the political fallout.
He tracks down an 80-year-old Wu,
Who leads the young general to his father's grave.
It is a quiet, somber resolution to a story defined by explosive violence and impossible deaths.
The author of the collection, the chronicler of the strange, leaves us with some final commentary attached to the end of the tale.
What does he say?
He heavily praises the immense, terrifying wisdom of the mother. He stands in absolute awe of Qilang's post-mortem vengeance. But his final thought is a lament. He writes, "The world is vast, but there are too few Qilangs."
If we connect this back to the broader philosophy of the era, the author is talking about the concept of the net of heaven, or Tianwen.
The net of heaven.
There's an ancient Chinese proverb. The net of heaven is vast. Its meshes are wide, but nothing slips through. It means ultimate justice, cosmic justice, is unavoidable.
But in Wu's world, human laws failed entirely.
The political system was completely corrupt. The human net was shredded by power and bribes.
So the supernatural had to step in to do the job the humans refused to do.
Precisely. Qilang's vengeance, his leaping corpse, was the universe literally patching the holes in the net of heaven. Human justice failed, so supernatural, moral justice had to violently intervene to restore the balance of the cosmos.